you doing today? Are you doing fine? Yeah. Are you glad you're in church today? Yeah, me too. It's a happy Sabbath day. You know that? You know, one time Jesus, he went to the city of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem has many gates. And one of those gates was called the Sheep Gate. You know why they called it the Sheep Gate? Anybody? That's right, because they let sheep in through there. Sheep came into Jerusalem all the time. Do you know why sheep came into Jerusalem? No? Well, because they offered sacrifices there. Some of those poor sheep, they had to be a sacrifice for sin. But you know, not all of them got sacrificed. And it represented Jesus, who was to sacrifice himself for our sins. Well, Jesus came in that very gate one day, into the sheep gate. Only Jesus isn't a sheep. In fact, we know that Jesus is a shepherd. And a shepherd is the one who watches the sheep. He makes sure they're okay. He takes care of them. He guards them. He protects them. He makes sure they get fed every day. Jesus is the good shepherd, because he makes sure that we're taken care of every day, doesn't he? And when he came inside the sheep gate, right on the other side of the street was a large pool, kind of like a swimming pool. Well, it was made with stones and it was in the ground. And there were 5 porch roofs over this pool. And it was called the Pool of Bethesda. And you know, the Pool of Bethesda, it means the house of mercy. And it was called the house of mercy because there was something miraculous that happened in that pool. You see, the water would just sit there stagnant for a while. But every now and then, an angel of God would come down and stir it up and trouble that water and swish up. You couldn't see the angel. No, you couldn't see him, but you could see it when the water was churned up. And people soon learned that if you were the first one to get into that water when the angel was there churning it up, that you would be healed from any disease you had. And it was true, it happened. But you had to be the first one. If you're going to sit around and wait, you're not going to make it in time. So people would come by the hundreds and sit around that Pool of Bethesda, waiting for the angel of God to come down and stir up that water, because they all wanted to be first. Well, Jesus came in through the sheep gate, and he saw that pool, and he saw there a poor, wretched man. He wasn't that old, at least by my standards. Maybe by you he seemed pretty old. But he laid there by that pool on a mat, and Jesus knew right who he was. That's the thing about Jesus. You see, he sees someone, and he knows them already. He sees you, and he knows who you are. He sees you, and he knows who you are. He sees you, and he knows everything about you. He even knows what you're thinking in your head. So we got to be careful what we think sometimes. But he knows everything about us, and he knew that man laying there, and he went up to him, and he says, "Why don't you get into the pool?" He says, "I can't, because my legs don't work, and ever since I was a little boy," I give towels with my showers. "Ever since I was a little boy, I could not walk on my legs." Can you imagine what that would be like, not to be able to walk on your legs? I mean, you run around, you climb trees, you probably use skateboards, I don't know, maybe you bicycle a bicycle. You need legs to do those kinds of things. But this man didn't have legs. And ever since a little boy, he had no legs and he couldn't walk on them because they were useless. And they were withered up and old. Because what happens is when you don't use your legs and exercise them, they get weak and fimbly and withered up. Jesus says, "What do you want?" He says, "I want to be made whole." And you know what Jesus said to him? "You know, you don't need anybody to take you into the water. You know that, don't you?" He said, "No." He says, "Let's just stand up, pick up your bed, and go home." He had never heard such a thing before. I haven't walked in 38 years. And now this man comes through the sheep gate and says, "Just pick up your bed and walk." What am I supposed to do? His mind was thinking real fast. But you know, something about that man made him realize that I better do what he says. There's something about that face. When I look into his face. And so the man did. He started to get up. And you know, when he got up, he could feel strength in his legs. Why, there had never been strength there before. He could stand up. He could move around. And it was fine. They were like good as new. He didn't need years of physical therapy. Jesus says, take up your bed and walk. And he did. He got up and he walked. He rolled his bed up. He put it under his arm. He was so happy. And he looked around. Jesus had left. He just left like that. Where did he go? Well, that man didn't even know who he was. But he was so happy. And there was lots of people around. And he started walking home. But soon, some Pharisees of the church saw him. Young man, what are you doing? He says, I'm walking home. I can walk. Yes, I can see that. But what are you doing carrying your bed? He said, well, the man told me to walk. He said, pick up my bed and go home. Young man, you don't understand. You are in violation of the law. For the law says that you are not to work on the Sabbath day. And here you are carrying your bed. You are sinning against God. The man said, wait, someone just healed my legs. These men don't care. I'm carrying the bed home. And now all he can think about is that I'm carrying my bed. He said, I don't know who that was, sir. He didn't tell me his name, but he healed me. Yes, I can see that. Well, let me tell you, we'll find out about this man. We'll find him and we'll see what's going on here. But mind you, don't ever carry your bed on the Sabbath day again. Don't you dare do that. The man was so confused. He was happy a minute ago. Now he's not so happy. And as he started to go home, Jesus found him again. And he says, I'm Jesus. He says, you're whole now, aren't you? He says, yes, I'm whole and I can walk. He says, that's good. And you continue to follow me and do as I say. And you will be kept safe and protected. And so that man did. And the Pharisees, they were very upset because they were jealous. Because this man, Jesus, he had such great power. And everybody liked him. When he would come into a city, so many people crowded into that city, you couldn't even walk through the streets. It was so bad. Everybody wanted to see Jesus. And the Pharisees were jealous of that. And they found Jesus. What is this that you have done? Jesus says, this is what my Father and I do. We work together. Yes, but you healed a man on the Sabbath day, and you broke the Sabbath. And Jesus says, no, I did not break the Sabbath. I released this man from the bondage of his disease, and I let him free to go home. Jesus is always working for us every day. He can make our bodies whole and make them pure again. He loves us very much. And I want you to remember when you go home today that no matter what you say or what you do or what you even think, Jesus knows it. But he's not waiting to condemn you for it. He's waiting to forgive you and to give you a new heart. I love Jesus because he saved me from my sins. And he wants me to go home with him in heaven. Don't you want to be with Jesus in heaven? I sure do. I'm looking for the day when he comes home again. You can go back to your seats now. You've been very good. Thank you.